Someone is hiding the truth. Someone is running out of time. And after months of resentment, betrayal, and dangerous secrets, a confrontation is about to explode in a way nobody sees coming. Because next week in Coronation Street, one shocking discovery pushes Kevin Webster to breaking point. A gun appears. A desperate man feels trapped. And before the dust settles, lives could be changed forever. But that's only the beginning. While one family faces a terrifying crisis, another mystery is quietly growing in the background. Questions are being asked. Loyalties are being tested. And across Weatherfield, several residents are about to discover that the truth can be far more dangerous than the lies used to hide it. The biggest shock starts with Carl. For weeks, tension has been building between Carl and Kevin. Angry words have been exchanged. Trust has completely disappeared. And deep down, both men know that their feud has reached a point where there may be no way back. But Carl has problems that nobody fully understands. Desperate to find work and struggling to see a way forward, he finds himself staring into an increasingly uncertain future. Every option seems to be closing around him. Then a familiar face appears with an offer. Fiona. A woman whose involvement usually means trouble. When she suggests more illegal work, Carl finds himself tempted once again. He knows the risks. He knows how dangerous things could become. But when you're desperate enough, danger can start to look like opportunity. And that's exactly where the real trouble begins. Because while Carl is trying to figure out his next move, Kevin accidentally stumbles across something that changes everything. Something he was never supposed to see. A video. At first it seems harmless enough. But then another recording catches his attention. And what he discovers leaves him absolutely furious. The footage appears to show Carl sabotaging the brakes on his car. Suddenly, every suspicion Kevin has been carrying around starts to feel justified. Every doubt. Every argument. Every warning sign. In Kevin's eyes, this isn't just betrayal. It's proof. And once he sees it, there is no turning back. Consumed by anger, Kevin decides he wants answers. Immediately. But one detail changes everything. Kevin isn't the only person keeping secrets. Elsewhere, Debbie Webster is enjoying what should be a relaxing breakaway with Sally, Glenda, and Christina. For once there's laughter. For once there's peace. For once the pressures of everyday life seem far away. Ronnie is delighted to see Debbie enjoying herself, and for a brief moment, it looks as though she might finally get the rest she desperately needs. But fate has other plans. Because while Debbie switches off from the chaos back home, the chaos itself is quietly spiraling out of control. And before long, it will come crashing back into her life. Back at the garage, Kevin finally confronts Carl. The atmosphere is explosive from the very beginning. Neither man is willing to back down. Neither man is willing to listen. And as old wounds are reopened, long-buried resentment comes pouring to the surface. Soon Tyrone and Ronnie arrive. What happens next only makes Kevin even angrier. Because he discovers that both men already knew about the brake sabotage incident. They've known for weeks. And nobody told him. To Kevin, this feels like another betrayal. Another secret. Another reason not to trust the people around him. Ronnie desperately tries to calm the situation. He urges everyone to think about Debbie. To put family first. To stop fighting before somebody gets hurt. But Kevin is beyond reasoning. His anger has become something much bigger. Something dangerous. And then Carl does something that changes the entire situation. Something nobody expected. He reaches for a gun. Suddenly the argument isn't just an argument anymore. The threat becomes terrifyingly real. Fear fills the garage. Every decision now carries consequences. Every movement matters. And nobody knows how this nightmare is going to end. Meanwhile, another drama is unfolding elsewhere. Brody, Dylan, and Betsy are simply looking for a good time. Nothing dramatic. Nothing dangerous. Or so they think. After being refused service at the pub, they head elsewhere with drinks in hand. But before long, they're confronted by a group of intimidating lads. The atmosphere changes instantly. What started as a normal evening suddenly becomes threatening. The group demands their drinks. The pressure grows. And panic begins to set in. Then Brody does something unexpected. Something brave. Instead of running with his friends, he sacrifices his own safety. He tells Dylan and Betsy to get away while he distracts the gang himself. It's a risky decision. A dangerous decision. But it might just save them. Or so it seems. Because as Brody runs for his life, he has no idea who he's about to encounter. And what happens next leaves everyone stunned. In a twist nobody could have predicted, Debbie, Sally, Bernie, Glenda and Christina suddenly find themselves caught up in the chaos. The women quickly realize what's happening. And remarkably they step in. Together. What follows is an extraordinary rescue. The thugs are confronted. The danger is neutralized. And Brody is left stunned by the unexpected intervention. For a brief moment it seems like a victory. But while one crisis is resolved, another is already brewing. Because back at the pub, concern is growing. Phones remain switched off. Messages go unanswered. And loved ones begin fearing the worst. Could something have happened? Could the women be in trouble? Or is an even bigger mystery waiting to emerge? But that's only the beginning. Because Fiona isn't finished with Carl. Not even close. After the dramatic confrontation, Fiona makes her presence known once again. And this time there is nothing subtle about her warning. She tells Carl he has 1 week. Just 1 week. Do exactly what she says. Or face devastating consequences. The threat is chilling. The pressure is immense. And for the first time Carl genuinely looks afraid. Because this isn't simply about money anymore. It's about survival. Unfortunately for Carl, someone overhears part of the conversation. Debbie. Already dealing with enough stress of her own, she immediately senses that something is very wrong. Questions begin forming in her mind. Why is Carl frightened? Who exactly is Fiona? And what dangerous secret is being hidden from the rest of the family? The answers remain frustratingly out of reach. But suspicion has been planted. And it refuses to disappear. As if that wasn't enough, Debbie's emotional state continues to deteriorate. The terrifying events surrounding the gun incident refuse to leave her mind. Nightmares haunt her. Fear follows her everywhere. And even ordinary situations start triggering painful memories. When an argument erupts over a flower order, emotions quickly boil over. Then Tracy makes a cruel remark. One that cuts deeper than anyone realizes. Suddenly Debbie's confidence begins to crumble. The pressure becomes overwhelming. And what should have been a joyful celebration soon turns into another painful reminder of everything she's trying to escape. A simple mistake reveals a baby's gender before the parents can announce it themselves. Embarrassing. Awkward. But manageable. Then disaster strikes. A balloon suddenly bursts. The sound is harmless. Yet to Debbie it feels like something much worse. For a terrifying moment she's transported straight back to the gun incident. The panic is immediate. The fear is overwhelming. And those around her realize just how deeply the trauma has affected her. But while Debbie struggles with her fears, another emotional battle is unfolding elsewhere. Nick is desperately waiting for news about Sam. And every passing moment feels unbearable. Sam's recent breakdown has left Nick terrified. Desperate for someone to blame. Desperate for answers. And desperate to understand how things became so bad. Eventually his frustration lands on Ben and Eva. Nick becomes convinced that Sam's suffering is linked to the pressure surrounding Megan's upcoming trial. If that's true, the consequences could be enormous. Not only for Sam, but for everyone involved in the case. Questions begin swirling. Will Sam be able to cope? Will his testimony still be needed? And what happens if the entire case starts falling apart? For a brief moment, Nick and Ben appear to find common ground. Both men understand what it means to worry about a child. Both know the guilt that comes from wondering whether they could have done more. And for a while it seems like they might finally move forward. But appearances can be deceiving. Because when Nick learns the full extent of Sam's suffering, everything changes. His anger returns. Stronger than ever. The fragile peace shatters. And once again accusations start flying. Nick becomes convinced that warning signs were missed. That mistakes were made. That this pain could have been prevented. The emotional fallout is devastating. Relationships are pushed to their limits. Trust begins to crumble. And nobody can agree on who is really responsible. Yet even with all these conflicts unfolding across Weatherfield, one question towers above everything else. What really happened with that gun? Because as details slowly emerge, the incident continues casting a shadow over everyone involved. Kevin, Pearl, Ronnie, Debbie. Every one of them is carrying emotional scars. Every one of them is hiding fears they can barely admit out loud. And the closer people get to the truth, the more dangerous the situation becomes. Especially now that Fiona's threats are hanging over Carl's head. Especially now that Debbie is starting to ask difficult questions. And especially now that some secrets are becoming impossible to contain. Because if one thing is becoming painfully clear, it's this. The gun incident may not be over. Not even close. A desperate man is being pushed into a corner. A frightened woman is beginning to suspect the worst. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a truth remains hidden. For now. But when that truth finally comes to light, the consequences could be explosive. And Weatherfield may never be the same again.